This truly was the miracle of Istanbul. But one night couldn't hide the fact that Liverpool weren't set up to compete consistently. And their rivals knew it. Over the summer, Chelsea came calling again. And this time, they were determined to get their man.
We tried everything to talk him round. The chairman came to see him, and he had absolutely decided that he was going, and we announced he was going. It was ambition, it was restlessness, it was oddly not necessarily feeling he was valued enough. Fortunately, he came around and signed a deal, and he did say to me, just do me one favour, don't ever let me do this again.
With Gerrard having put pen to paper, Liverpool did strengthen the team. But he was restless for a reason. Despite Liverpool's show of ambition, the footballing world had moved into a new financial stratosphere.
David Moore was really a good chairman. I think Rick Parry and him, they were trying to help, and they didn't put us under pressure. The plan was the same, was in 3 years' time to compete. We were already winning. We were in the final of the Carling Cup, and this year we won the FA Cup also and the European Super Cup. So everybody was happy in the way that the team and the club was progressing. The only thing is that economically you couldn't compete against the other teams.
David Moyes had decided in 2004 that he wanted to sell. He was concerned, I think, about the resources that Abramovich was bringing to Chelsea.
Interest in the club was high. Rival offers were received from a consortium headed by the Sheikh of Dubai and an American businessman called George ژیلت. The club wanted to sell to Dubai, but a deal took too long to materialise.
Everyone seemed desperate for the club to be bought out. Be careful what you wish for, because what we got was absolute chaos.
2007, we ended up with Messrs Hicks and ژیلت.
This is truly the largest sport in the world, the most important sport in the world, and this is the most important club in the most important sport in the world. And what a privilege we have to be associated with it, and we hope that with the good graces of Rick and his team that we will be able to enjoy both on the pitch success and economic success. But we're buying this with no debt on the club.
I think George absolutely wanted success. I think he got what Liverpool was about. Tom Hicks, I don't think, ever got Liverpool. I remember the week after the deal went through, he did an interview for The Guardian saying buying Liverpool's just like buying Weetabix. And I think, no, it definitely isn't.
We are making plans to move forward with the stadium as quickly as we can. We need all the revenues we can possibly find to compete with Manchester.
At the beginning it was fine, because I think they promised a lot of things. Maybe after, I would say, 3-4 months, that little by little you could see that it was not exactly what you were expecting.
Liverpool faced Milan again in the Champions League final that summer. But there was to be no repeat of Istanbul. It looked like Hicks and ژیلت had cash and were prepared to spend it. Fernando Torres was brought in for a club record transfer fee.
Beats Benhaim, Torres, and scores! His first goal for Liverpool!
But despite promises to the contrary, they'd borrowed money to fund most of their activity, in the form of a bank loan from RBS for over £200 million.
Not long after arriving, we headed into a period where the relationship between Rafa, between the fans and between the ownership all kind of started to fall apart.
I have people inside telling me, yeah, we don't have the money. But after, the same people, they were going outside telling the press, no, we are doing this, we are doing that. So then you have to cope with the expectations that you wanted to compete for the title, but at the same time you knew that you couldn't.
The world's stock markets are stampeding and investors are diving for cover.
The financial crash made a bad situation much worse. Hicks had lost more money than ژیلت and wanted to sell. The pair fell out and began using everybody in the club as a pawn.
It was melted out. It was civil war within the club, and it was civil war between ژیلت and Hicks. Rafa was at odds with Rick Parry, who got sacked by Tom Hicks.
Rick needs to resign from Liverpool Football Club. You certainly have to have the ability to work with your general manager, and I think Rick's proven he just can't do that.
He wrote to me saying, I'm fired, and I kind of wrote back and said, no, I'm not, because you can't do that. We're trying to get on with the football, which is why I'm still here. There's a job to be done. There are big matches to be played. That's where the focus should be. This is a sideshow.
If you look at what's happened under Rick's leadership, it's been a disaster. We've fallen so far behind the other top clubs.
I think the mistake he made, which wasn't very smart with hindsight, he used the words disaster on the Hillsborough anniversary. That was not the wisest word to use.
Despite the infighting off the pitch, on it, Liverpool were flying. By the end of 2008, they were above Manchester United at the top of the league. But the facts were that the tension was getting to everybody.
People talk about the rant and the interview. I'm sure that you will ask me about that.
What do you make though of Sir Alex Ferguson's comments when he said Liverpool could choke?
I was surprised, but I have to talk about facts. I have my reasons I can tell you off the record, but I knew 100% that I needed to do something. Only Mr. Ferguson can talk about the features, can talk about the referees, can talk about all these things. Nothing happened.
If he'd asked me in advance, did I think it was a good idea, I think I'd have said, Rafa, I would leave it. I wouldn't do it.
He's the only manager in the league, in the English league, that cannot be punished for these things.
And it was always Alex Ferguson this and Alex Ferguson that, and he just went on and on.
I am talking about facts. I am not talking about my impression, things that everybody can see every single week.
And then at the end gave this lovely smile.
100%, I can tell you, check what I said, and everything what I said was spot on.
You just imagine this picture of Sir Alex with his feet on his desk and having a nice glass of red thinking, yeah, a nice bit of work that.
When we were going to Old Trafford, was a father with his son, and they have a banner, Rafa is cracking up. And we beat them 1-4, so we were not cracking up. We were doing well, but Manchester United, they were doing better.
But the actual fact was that Manchester United had too many games in hand. Liverpool missed out on the title again.
The good thing, by 2009, at least we were contenders. The worst thing of all was getting to January, February, and knowing you couldn't beat United. That was awful.
Fans had now had enough of their American owners. The huge loan repayments were overshadowing everything. ژیلت and Hicks put Liverpool up for sale.
It was chaos. No one knew what was happening. And of course, RBS keep upping the ante by saying the club can go bankrupt, the club can go bankrupt. I don't think the club was ever in danger of going bankrupt. Let's face it, if they would have sold Fernando Torres and Steven Gerrard, they could have almost balanced the books.
With the situation deteriorating, Liverpool began to lose key personnel. Chief Executive Rick Parry had had enough and left. Now it was time for Benitez to go, by mutual consent.
No, I don't think that we need to talk about what they promised to me. It's just what they say publicly. So you could see the new stadium and all these things that they said, and it's very clear. It's over there, so you can read the press at this time, and you will understand. Everybody will understand what they said and what they did.
At that time, the organisation was in free fall. Roy came in probably during that most difficult period for the club.
In fairness to Roy Hodgson, when he got the job, the club was in limbo, and I think he was appointed as a safe pair of hands.
How are we looking? It's a bit disappointing that on your first day it's matters of money which take precedence really over football matters. You know, I took the job because I wanted to be manager of Liverpool Football Club.
Got him at first base, and the Boston Red Sox can finally